5 of the the Eastern Conference Final, the Montreal Canadiens versus the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers are 1 game away for doing what nobody could have predicted they would do earlier in the season or even earlier in the playoffs. I defy the guy that said the Rangers. Oh, wait a minute. Jake Link did. Here to do that with me is none other than.
Can you taste it? They're almost there.
Yeah, a little bit, but we're going to get into after. Yeah, I think it's over. I don't think they have anything left. We're also going to go over the also it's somewhat of a surprise in the series. The LA Kings beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-1 yesterday in an absolute rout. The Blackhawks looked like they couldn't do anything. They were completely dominated in every facet of the game, probably more so than I've ever seen in the last 4 years of their existence. Here with me right now is none other than Boston Troy. Boston Troy, what are your views? Well, first of all, here's what I want to ask you. I'm noticing all day, I did a lot of reading all day because I was pretty much off. The availability of Derek Stepan. I have heard so many reports during the day whether this kid is playing or he's not playing. If his jaw's wired shut, I don't know how he could possibly do it safely because I've had my jaw wired shut before. Are the Rangers and the Habs sort of playing games with injuries? Because we also saw Carey Price. He was dressed somewhat in a practice today. Is this a lot of gamesmanship going on, you think?
I wouldn't say a lot of it. I mean, I think there's definitely a little bit. My take on it, my guess is that, New York might be slightly exaggerating. You say broken jaw, I suppose it probably wasn't, the horrible broken jaw that needed to be fully wired shut like we were talking about, but maybe with a little hairline or something like that.
Sure.
I don't think, he skated this morning. He was at the morning skate.
Sure.
I think he's playing tonight. I don't think he skates that morning skate if he's not playing.
But what if it was sort of what if they're bluffing to play him? Because this is I mean, Vigneault and Terrion are locked in a chess match. And I wonder if they're just kind of waving him around, and they responded with Price practicing. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it could be that. I mean, and part of the other reason I think he's going to end up playing is just that it's him. The Game 4 was the only game he's ever missed in his NHL career. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pointing to him playing. I think you're right. It is a bit of gamesmanship, and every team does that.
Sure.
Everyone's going to have a little bit of back and forth. You got to play the mental game as well as the physical.
Do you ever wonder sometimes, and I think this is probably a level that maybe me and you can't grasp, coaches and assistant coaches and scouts pay unbelievable attention to injury reports. Can this really, a player like Stepan, Price is for obvious reasons, he's a goalie, does it really make that much of a difference whether he plays or not? Not so much in a win-lose scenario, but does it make a difference that much? Are the coaches blowing it out of proportion? It was probably a guess on both your parts, but I never really understood that. Look, you're gonna have to play that night. How much does the offense or the defense or whatever your plan changes when a Derek Stepan actually comes in or doesn't?
That's a good question. I think it definitely does have an impact. You have to look at it from really the home team's perspective first. A lot of people don't realize such a big part of the game is the chemistry, the chemistry they're talking about. One of the biggest reasons that line is so successful with Stepan and Kreider is like I think Stepan's right-handed, Kreider's left-handed.
Yeah.
I can tell you, even if, from playing NHL, you're right-handed and left-handed on one side, right on the other, it's just easier. It makes more sense. So I think in the sense that, if he plays, it allows the Rangers to have better chemistry. Mm-hmm. That line's going to be more of a threat. So as a Canadian, as Terrian, you have to give more respect to that line. You have to know who your guys are to match up. They talk about that so much in, the Pittsburgh-Columbus series. Mm-hmm. Every time Crosby was on the ice, who's their big power forward there? I'm blanking on his name.
Kunitz.
Columbus.
Kunitz.
No,
your buddy.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I can't remember his name.
Kunitz. I can't say his name right.
It's the same thing when the Bruins play the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Crosby's on the ice, Bergeron's out to face him, or Zdeno's out to face him. So it does have a lot to do with the matchups. Even when it's smaller people like that, you still have to have that, respect for each line.
I think you convinced me because I think what's going on here is the difference between
Dubinsky, sorry, Brandon Dubinsky. That's all.
Brandon Dubinsky. Yeah, well, I mean, he's a guy that you do have to keep an eye on, not for reasons, the same type of reasons you'd have to keep on an eye on like a Patrick Kane. But I mean, he brings another element to your game. And you know what? You convinced me, because I guess, depending on I guess how your game theory works, if Stefan's in the lineup, it actually may flip or change your third and fourth line, or how you choose to deal with him. It probably changes personnel or the players you're willing to go with. So yeah, I guess if you broke it down that way, that seems to be that was a fantastic answer. I'm impressed, because I asked you a question that I was about 90% sure that you didn't know the answer to.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm here for, man.
Yeah, that's all right.
You know?
The New York Rangers' chances tonight. Well, are they going to close it up, or are we going to go back to New York?
Let me start by saying this. I think if New York wins tonight, I think I've got so much more respect for them. I see them being a real threat, no matter who they face in the Cup, whether it's LA or Chicago. I see them being a threat if they win tonight, because that's going to show that it seems like they're hungrier. And I think winning tonight proves that they have that hunger. Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, as much as you can have a bunch of snipers on the team, if they're not hungry, it's going to be trouble. So to answer your question, yes, I think the Rangers are going to win tonight. I think they have the hunger. It's been, 54 years since the Cup? I see them even potentially winning. I took back what I said in the last show. Uh-huh. I think they're a major threat. They have a serious chance of taking home the Cup.
What gave you that? That's in my opinion, the team hasn't changed all that much. What changed your mind in the last game? Was it just the effort of the St. Louis goal when there was just so much crazy stuff going on? It was such a chaotic game, or what changed your sort of respect level?
Yeah, absolutely. You see them killing it. New York's one of those teams that you see it when they're on the ice. I mean, it's the same thing with Boston. It's one of my favorite things about the Bruins is that, you can see when they're hungry, when they're, we say don't poke the bear.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Poke the bear, they get angry. They get angry. It's the same thing. The hunger, you get that drive to win. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I see the Rangers having that. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I didn't expect them to do much. I thought the Canadians were going to pretty much flatten them. But they proved me wrong. They were just running around the ice. You can see it. They're hungry. They want it.
Speaking of the Montreal Canadiens, I want to run this by you, because one thing that I'm noticing, I'm not so much noticing improvements to the Rangers. Well, there's obvious improvement in the Ranger game. It's a completely different team in the playoffs, which is what everybody hopes for when your team sort of backs into the playoffs, because these things do tend to happen. The thing I'm noticing about the Canadians, and obviously losing Carey Price it goes without saying that losing Carey Price dramatically changed this series, and I think that's fair to say. The thing that gets me is, you saw a lot more of the European style play, a lot of dramatic diving, trying to attract the referees. PK Subban, he legitimately drew a penalty and he took a stick to the face, but he kicks his legs back. This is something that they're always complaining about in Boston. And they had so many chances and so many power plays, and the Rangers weren't in disciplines at times, because it was like, look, the ref's going to call it, guys. He may not have called this 20, maybe all the other refs, but this ref's going to. This ref's going to call every stick infraction, every little minor cross-check, which I did find unusual. And they didn't really change. The Canadians could not convert on the power play, and I tell you something, the more this series goes on, I question their conditioning. Their asses are dragging at the end of periods. That is unacceptable for any professional sports franchise. I'm starting to believe that the reason they beat the Boston Bruins is because they were built, and that's what they knew. They were ready for that matchup from the start. For the first puck drop in October, they were ready for it, and they studied the Bruins and took out the Bruins. And in the meantime, they didn't look at other teams that were more open, like a Pittsburgh or a New York Rangers. I am fully convinced, not that the Rangers are so much better than we thought they were. I am fully convinced that the Montreal Canadiens are actually a very, very overrated hockey team. They're very small. They're slow, and I think you're going to see a double and tripling down of the diving and what I would call European-style play tonight. They will triple down because they got nothing left. They have no goalie. They cannot count on Subban to hit a power play slap shot every time. This team just isn't that damn good. And I don't really think the Rangers are that great. They're obviously better after, this emotional thing that kind of happened in the locker room. But the Canadians, they're not that good. I think Boston's a better hockey team than them. I even think Pittsburgh's a better hockey team than they are.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. I think they are overrated. I think a lot of the problem lies in, really the team, going back to what I was talking about chemistry and what you're saying about them looking slow in the end, is that I don't think they're, that closely knit of a team. I think they have a few skilled players. I mean, I won't deny P.K. Subban's a great defenseman, at least offensively. And Carey Price is a big. I would argue Price is the biggest part of that team.
Sure.
But I don't think they have the same chemistry that so many other teams do, and that's why you see them get down on themselves like that. They don't have the real. They have a couple, instigators, but for instance, I'll go back to the Bruins. Thurton's more than just an instigator. He's one of those guys in the locker room. Chris Kelly's another guy. Patrice Bergeron. Hashtag NHL 15 Bergeron. Another one of those guys. It's just one of those big locker room
You're talking
guys
about leadership.
Is going to rally the team, both in the locker room and on the ice, and that's what counts.
You're talking about leadership.
Have that, especially St. Louis. I think was a great acquisition. It didn't look so great in the regular season. I'm sure a lot of you guys were pissed, but clearly worked out in the playoffs because it's been going so well, and I think that's going to carry on. I think, like I said, they're a team that's hungry, and the Canadians just aren't. They don't have the chemistry. They don't have that will. And going back to you were talking about the dive-in, I think you're right. I think you might see some more of that. But I think that's the wrong way to do it. It hasn't worked for them. They were 1 for 8 on the power play the last game. They really need to realize that, that gets you some points during the regular season. But if that's your fallback in the playoffs, it's not going to work forever.
Well, not in this day.
Play. They're not converting.
Not this day and age, but I tell you something. I did see it work for Team Russia in versus Finland. It was very clear that was their game plan, to dive in, because they have so many great snipers on Team Russia. And this is my biggest fear is this is what the future of the NHL minus fighting will look like. A lot like with the Montreal Canadiens. I love and respect PK Subban. I do. I think he's great. I think he's good for the game, and he's a good guy. But
I almost just hung up on you.
Well, yeah, I do think he's a good guy. I do think he's a good person. But it's just like he doesn't have any. He has no shame in doing that type of stuff, and I disagree with you in this one point, and I agree just about everything you said about the Canadians. I do about the Canadians about their abilities and strengths and weaknesses. I think they are just as hungry as the New York Rangers. I disagree with you there. I think they simply do not have the talent. They're too small, and they will do anything to win. But to you and me, anything to win is dig deep, score even strength goals. Make it happen, execute in the power play when you got the chance. To them, it's draw penalties. That's digging in deep for them. And I don't think the NHL is at a point where that actually... the NHL is not at a FIFA level at this point. And you're absolutely right. If they got to go in there, they have to beat the Rangers even strength. And they can't make the types of mental errors. The 2 goals the Rangers scored in regulation, one was a bad line change, the other one was a bad play on a power play where they gave up a shorty. So, I mean, to me, these are examples where the Habs are not good. Now, if you're listening to me the first time, you're probably saying to yourself, oh, well, you're a big Ranger fan and you're dumping on the Habs. I have the Habs in my pool because I play to win, beating the New York Rangers, and I would have said they're a great hockey team. I just started to realize, I probably didn't watch the Canadians as much as I should have. And, I have so much respect for the Boston Bruins, and they were able to take the Bruins in a great series. And then I see this. And then I start thinking about the Lars Eller, Eric Greiba thing. They're a team that pretty much goes on emotion completely and doesn't have a lot of talent outside of PK Subban and Carey Price. Fair? Hello there?
Yeah, they're really not. Like I said, I think Price is the biggest part of that team. I mean, he's the backstop. Canadians are one of those teams where clearly goalie is the most important position, and it has to be the most important position, because without Carey Price, the Canadians are in trouble.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
That's why the Rangers take it.
We're running out of time because we're starting up pretty soon. I want to go over the other series. How shocked were you that there was a 5-1 victory by Los Angeles yesterday?
Pretty goddamn shocked, I mean.
Yeah.
Pretty goddamn shocked. I mean, like I said, I like LA, but I certainly didn't see that much coming. Don't get me wrong, I picked them to win the series. You're talking about the pool. I don't know if you looked, but I have New York and Los Angeles. I have them both in 7 games.
You have them both in 7.
I might be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But I have them both. So
that's huge points.
It's not too crazy. Like I said, LA, You know what the great thing about LA is? Their team, you look at them, they're hungry, they have goal scorers, and they have Jonathan Quick. So
and they also
got
have
everything. They got all the ingredients.
Yeah, everything.
And
Stanley Cup
experience.
experience.
Obviously, they can do it.
And Stanley Cup experience as well. And they also have that locker room leadership in Dustin Brown. Yes,
right. I don't even need to say they have it. We know they have it.
We know they have it. They've done it. And it's not that much different a team as it was 2 years ago. And they're also an extremely well-coached team.
It's a better team.
Yeah. And the thing is, unlike the Montreal Canadiens, I am not willing to count the Blackhawks out based on their history. They have been behind 3-1 before. We saw it last year in Detroit. I do think that the Los Angeles Kings will defeat the Chicago Blackhawks and finally put them to bed and maybe change their direction. But I'm not seeing it in Game 5. I'm definitely seeing it in Game 6 in Los Angeles, which might be great, exciting for Los Angeles fans. But I don't think this team quits, and I think they definitely have more firepower, but they're going to have to find a way to not only deal with Los Angeles' sort of a neutral zone control, but they also have to find a way to use their firepower, Patrick Kane, and they have to control the tempo of the game. Because if you look at, if you see what Drew Doughty's doing over there, I mean, this guy looks like this guy, I'm hearing people are calling him LA's Lidstrom. That's exactly what he looks like out there. He's in command at all times. He is the guy is really one of the most underrated players in the National Hockey League. I'm sure more guys in the West. Well, no, we hear about him all the time. No, this guy doesn't get talked that much about in the East. Yeah, he won a Stanley Cup 2 years ago. This guy is... he's probably wouldn't be one of the best defensemen for the last 5 years, but because of playing in Los Angeles, which is not a huge hockey market, it's a great big market, but it's not a hockey market, that we don't really get to see what this guy does, and he is, they must be, you want to talk about coaches keeping their eye on a guy, they must be there keeping an eye on Doughty the entire game. It must be just frightening at this point.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. They, like you said, they got big threats everywhere on the ice. Forwards, defensemen, Doughty. All the defensemen, even the younger guys. Muzzin's got a 3-point streak.
Yeah.
Voinov and Martinez, or as Don Cherry says it, Martinez.
Is that what he really
very
says?
Good younger defensemen. They have youth and they have experience in all parts of the ice.
Jesus. What do you think? What are your predictions? Do you think is Chicago going to make a comeback, or is this the end of their story?
No, never. I don't think Chicago is ever down and out. This series is very much alive. I think this game could totally go either way because Chicago, has that expectation, has the scoring potential. In any game, they have at least 4 players that score a hat trick. Would you be surprised if, you heard Taves hat trick or Taves assist trick, Kane hat trick, Sharp, Hossa?
Yeah.
They have too many weapons to ever be down and out.
And they also have they have 2 cups. They have lots of experience. They've been in holes. They were in a hole with they were in a hole with St. Louis early in the playoffs. And I think I remember you said he goes. I said something to you it's funny. I was like, I thought maybe this train might be coming off the rails. And you said anybody but the Chicago Blackhawks. I would have agreed with you. But so yeah, I do think the Blackhawks are. You got to give them like a 1-game curve. So it's really 3-2.
Plus, I know Joe Cronin's gonna hate me for bringing this up, but I'll bring it up. Game 6 of the Cup Finals when we lost. You remember what happened? They scored 2 goals in the last minute of the game to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah. They were down a goal and they won with less than a minute left. So
yeah, I know. We thought we were going to see Game 7.
You can't ever count them out. Yeah.
No. Absolutely. There's too many weapons, too much experience. Hardened veterans like Hossa. Young superstars like Kane, and really, in my opinion, I hate to sound like Pierre Maguire over here, the most valuable player in the game probably for the last 5 seasons, and that is neither Alexander Volovechkin or Sidney Crosby. That is one Jonathan Toews. So we really can't count them out. We got a little more time. I have a new way of doing the news, and I want to see if I can try it. I want to go over some headlines that actually happened today, and maybe get your take on it. I have this way to on my one computer I can share my headlines and then go back and forth instead of just trying to scroll through Puck Daddy, which is not working anymore. The IIHF bans spinoramas in their shootout. What do you think of that? I mean, this might be coming the NHL if there even is a shootout next year.
Do you have to ask what I think of that? What do you think I think of that, Tommy?
Well, I don't know.
What do you
Jake
think I
Link,
think
my
of that?
legendary Jake Link, my co-host, he likes the shootout.
Banning spin-a-rooney, that's got to be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Really? Banning the spin-a-run?
You're going to ban a style of shooting?
It's
I'm
not so
sorry,
much a style.
You can't shoot that way.
The rule is that the puck must maintain a continuous motion. Now, the spinorama is mentioned inside the NHL rules as long as the puck, as long as the puck keeps going in a forward motion.
Right.
Yeah.
But
what you're seeing is you're seeing guys pull a spin move. They're actually putting on the brakes. And snowing the goalie and then turning around. That's not. I don't know if that was the intent of the shootout. I think that's what they're doing. So they just any attempt at a spinorama, whether the puck moves, because there's a bunch of different ways to do it. There's a bunch of different ways to do a spinorama. You can do it through your legs. You can just carry it in a big circle. There's just, I mean, you can actually spin around in your skates and the puck goes in the same direction. There's a million ways to do it.
You know what? I can tell you exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Many out there are hockey and baseball fans like myself.
Mm-hmm.
You may know the controversy about the transfer rule they instigated this year. Do you know about that?
No, I don't. I don't pay bad attention to baseball like I used to.
Okay. The transfer rule, what it is when somebody's going for a double play, if somebody's the second baseman, the shortstop, are going to second, if they catch the ball while stepping on the bag, should be an out, and then while transferring the ball to their throwing hand because they're about to throw it to first, if they drop it, it's now they didn't get that first out. What the rule used to be was that it's umpire's judgment. Is that, did he successfully make the catch and then lost to trying to do the transfer?
Mm.
But what they did this year in baseball was completely take the judgment out of it. They said if he drops it, it's an out. And I feel like the IHF is exactly what they're doing. Because you're right, the NHL has that rule as long as the puck maintains continuous momentum towards the net, which is possible even if you do a spin because you're going forward so fast.
You're absolutely right.
Physics evolution is perfectly possible, but it is going to be harder to judge looking at it.
Yeah,
from a stationary position as a ref, that's going to be hard to judge. So what the IHF is doing is taking that judgment away.
Yeah, they're just being lazy about it.
That's going to happen. We might not see it, so let's just bar it completely. I disagree with it, but I can understand what they're doing.
They're just being lazy about it. The other thing they added in the thing is there's no lacrosse type moves. In other words, doing a Michigan, as they say. I remember the first time I saw that, I think it was in 1993. And then everybody was at the park next day trying to sort of do a lacrosse move. Those have also been banned.
I love that move. I love that. That is.
Do you like it on a shootout? I love in regulation. It's still in regulation. It's still illegal. I can't imagine it's not illegal. But do you love it in a shootout though?
Oh sure, anything goes in the shootout. That's the whole point of the shootout. It's
a big show.
One-on-one. It's mano-a-mano. It's give it everything you got. Look at Team USA in the Olympics. They played it smart and go, okay, what's our most effective weapon? TJ Oshie. Keep talking and send him out there as much as we can. Use everything you have to win the game. Put everything on the line.
It is kind of strange that they would do this. I mean, it's just a joke to begin with. And it's been such a bigger part of the IIHF than it has been the NHL. The NHL is actually, on the flip side, set to probably go on to 10-minute overtimes next year. 4-on-4 for the first 5 minutes, 3-on-3 for the last. I'm not a big proponent of the suit. I've had 10 years of it. I've had enough of it. I thought it was good for the game too, but I think what it did is it hurt penalty shots. I'm no longer as excited when a ref calls the penalty shot, and I'm just not that interested in anymore. And it doesn't really feel like much of a win. And the worst part is, like, if you go to overtime, you're still getting a point anyway. So it's just like a big who cares. So it's become the shoot has become a circus.
On that.
What's that?
I hate OTL.
Yeah, I think they should get rid of it, and I'm actually I think I could stomach ties again. I saw what the other side looked. I was totally for it. I think I made the biggest mistake in the world. I would be fine with the getting rid of this. Interesting enough, here's the that was some of the rules. They also added some rules about reducing the size of goalie equipment. There was some stuff that they rejected as well. This is one they rejected, to penalize deliberate grabbing and twisting and holding like a headlock with a major penalty. Oh my God, can you imagine how many major penalties there'd be? To move the goal line closer to the end of the rink, like 3 meters, not a big deal. To reinstate red line offsides, that was rejected. So I'm assuming they're talking about two-line pass. Look, the best thing that came out of the 2004 lockout was the elimination of the red line. I don't understand
Absolutely.
why is the IHL, are they just trying to be different than the NHL? Is that the idea here?
They always have been, absolutely. I mean, when they got a bigger rink anyway, it is a little bit different there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting because they are a more speedy game with that bigger rink. I mean,
it is.
If someone doesn't know the main difference between international hockey rinks that are used in like the Olympics and the IHFF and CHL teams, is that they're bigger. It's a bigger rink, wider, longer, so there's more space. It tends to be less physical play, a lot more speed. Mm-hmm. So it is interesting that they would bring that back because that's going to slow down the game.
Yeah,
it's they want to be more like the NHL.
It was rejected, but like, why are we bringing? I think if somebody says like, well, do you have a problem? What problem you have with hockey? Except for I guess the thing you brought up, one thing that I always liked about baseball more than hockey is there's very, very few rule changes. The game has not changed very dramatically. I mean, the equipment's changed, the athletes' bodies have changed. But baseball is relatively the same. There is literally new rule changes every single year in the National Hockey League. And they don't always work. I don't know if you remember the in the crease rule that ruined the Buffalo Sabres' chances of winning a Stanley Cup, which was completely ridiculous. It just seems like at what point do we say, all right, we got it. Game's all right, and what have you. I mean, I don't know. Hey, you think we should be getting ready for game time now? It's I got 2 a.m. Central European time. That means it's probably 8 a.m. Eastern Standard. Is that correct there?
But you were close.
Yeah, I was close. It was like 2:02 or 8:08 or something like that, or 8:02, something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay, and I think we'll end it right here. Stay tuned. Hey,
hold on a second.
What?
That nice try there. You tried to get one past me. I had to make predictions. What do you think's going to happen? They're your team. What's happening tonight, Tommy?
Jesus. Well, I'm not big on this. My own team is tough. I think they're going to close it out tonight. For the reasons I stated. I think you're going to see. I think it's going to be a circus. I think they're going to turn into a dive-a-thon, and that is their version of digging in. And it's not enough, at least at this point, in today's NHL.
What's the score? Who's bringing it home for you? Who's getting the GWG? Who's getting the game-winning goal?
I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I think there's going to be quick goals scored, and maybe it'll be like a 2-1 game, 1-1, 2-2, like in the first period. And I think there'll be some kind of mishap in the third period and a complete blowout. And so I'm looking at like a 6-2 game.
Okay, I can buy that.
Collapse.
I'm a little different.
That would mean,
like I said all along, they're
that
hungry.
would mean,
I think you're going to see, like you said, a big game. I think you're going to see like 4-1, 5-1. The New York Rangers aren't going to leave any doubt in anyone's mind that they deserve to be in the Cup.
I think we're looking at a mental collapse, and it's going to be a damn shame because we barely talked about Dustin Koharski and what a great job he did, what a future he had, and how valuable he is. He could either be traded for a lot of value or he become the new backup goalie. I mean, the kid has been amazing. It would be the only damn. I tell you something. If the Rangers win tonight, all of them, including PK Subban, who I lost respect for but still like, every one of them can kiss my ass. Every one of them can stick it up their ass. The way they acted, and Terrion acted really, it got blood in the water, and Brendan Pruss started looking for blood, and that resulted in Stefan's industry. The hell with Montreal. I hate the way they play. I hate the style. I hate everything about the Habs. I root for the Montreal Canadiens of baseball, the New York Yankees, and they have so much more class in their organization than this, and I will feel bad for none of them except Dustin Toharski. The kid's got a heart of a lion, and maybe he's a future of goaltending. I really wonder, because I know we've only seen him a little bit, but it took a great player a long time to solve him in a key spot. Shades of Marty Brodeur 20 years ago.
We'll see what happens tonight. So for those of you that want the TLDR version, we like the Rangers, and we like the Rangers big.
We like the Rangers big, and we also think that the Chicago Blackhawks will solve their issues and maybe make a run at it at the end. Troy tends to think
you know what I'm excited for?
Who's that?
I'm really excited for after the first period when we get back on here and we talk about how we were so close, but just completely lost.
You're absolutely correct. And speaking of, we're coming back after every period. If you subscribe right now, you can see the links that are embedded, and every one of those links will come up one at a time, and we'll go. We'll go for it. Look at the description box below. You'll see it. Period 1, period 2, period 3. Please tune in with us and enjoy the game.
I'm getting excited. Here comes the anthem.
Oh yeah, and it goes a little something like. Tune in this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with comedian legendary Jake Link and Tommy C. And we do Shot from the Point live. See ya, bitches!